standing by.
Five, four, three, two, one. You are live, you are live.
Welcome to today's Sunset Safari here on Safari Live. My name is Brent Smith and I have Brian Joubert and the Thumb with me on drive. And for the first time in quite a long time, it is the reuniting of the Killer Bees.
Killer Bees.
We're back and hopefully we're going to find you some killer sightings. So on the other vehicle we have Viam and Jamie, and in a final control we have Kirsten and Geraldine. Now we were looking at this beautiful big tree next to me that we started, and I've been doing a bit of reminiscing recently, and it's actually quite a special spot for me in my Safari Live story and in my Wild Earth days. So this is a big Nkahuma tree, a brown ivory. But on my first ever drive, my interview drive, it was also the spot where I first saw wild dogs, my favorite animal. And I suppose seeing wild dogs on my interview drive was just fate, because here we are, over a year and 3 months later, and you're still staring at my ugly mug on the drives. So good times so far. But it's going to be a very, very interesting sunset safari, and we're on Djuma Private Game Reserve at the moment, which is in the northeastern Sabi Sands Game Reserve, and we're going to be exploring around here for the first little bit of drive, and then I'm going to go head to the east, down to Cheetah Plains. No one was there this morning or last night, I don't think, so we're going to go have a look what's happening at Cheetah Plains as well. So since we saw Karula and Karula's cub tracks a few days ago, she's remained scarce. So I'm just going to do a quick sweep of our southern boundary to make sure she hasn't crossed out. So it's time to get going. Let's see what we can find. Bye-bye, Nkahuma tree. So I still have a sneaky suspicion that the Queen Karula, and for those of you not sure who Karula is or what a Karula is, it's our dominant female leopard, and at the moment she's got 2 cubs of around 4 months old, and I think they're hiding out on Djuma still, but we haven't seen her for a day or two, but fingers crossed that maybe we can find her on the sunset safari. Also, if you have just stumbled upon us and going, how are they doing a live game drive out in the bush? Well, technically I have no idea, but I'm here to show you all the animals. But what's also incredible is not only is it live, but if you're pondering about anything African and about the bush, you're more than welcome to pop me a question. You can do that by sending me an email. Email address is questions@wildearth.tv, or if you're a bit more technologically savvy, you can whack a hashtag in front of the word Safari Live and pop it on Twitter. And our ladies in final control will get those questions through to me on the vehicle. But we're now on the southern edge of Djuma, and I just want to make sure that there are no tracks of the female leopard departing our wonderful traverse area. Out on foot as well. Let's go see how Steph's getting along on Shaq's pony.
Good afternoon and good afternoon to the Sunset Bushwalk with myself, Steph Winterboer, and Jean-Andre Gerding on the camera behind us today. Now, obviously I'm standing quite close to some buffalo, and they are in the pan just in front of Djuma Lodge. And I'm not really going to get much closer than this, although we'd almost like to, but these buffalo are busy lying down now around about the pan. It's quite hot today. It's about 80 degrees Fahrenheit where we're standing at the moment, and as you can see, there's some water in the background, and these buffalo have been enjoying the cool of the watering hole and are now just lying up in the shade, cooling off, letting the evaporation cool them down and chewing the cud from their meal from last night and early this morning. The reason why I'm not going to get any closer than I am now is you can see that the area around those buffalo is devoid of cover. And that means that we'd be making an open approach over open ground to one of Africa's big five. And they get their name, the big five, because they are the 5 most dangerous animals to approach on foot. And buffalo definitely is one of those big 5 animals. As you can see, we're in a zone here where they are alert. Just this one that's closest to us, he's alert to us. But as you can see, his friend just next to him has just flopped down on his side and is completely unconcerned that we are standing about 50 yards or so away from this group of buffalo. And that's how I want to keep it. I don't want to get into a position where these buffalo feel they have to escort myself and Jandre off of this open area. Now, just for safety's sake, and in case you're worried about our safety, which I thank you preemptively, we've got a termite mound right here. And always when I'm making an approach to a buffalo herd or to some elephant, I almost always make sure that I've got a termite mound. And this termite mound will give us the right amount of height to get up and over in case we need to literally move away from these buffalo. But Brent has got some scampering animals that are going to run away if we don't go to him straight away.
And speaking of scampering, one just scampered out of frame, but we're going to try get you another shot. Busy.
A very good afternoon to all of you and welcome to the Sunset Safari. Brent, I'm sure, is going to be looking for a good place to find some signal as well as to be able to watch those baboons. Isn't it awesome just how incredibly many baboon sightings we've had over the last few weeks? Yes, my name is Jamie and this afternoon I have Liam on camera with me. And we are heading towards Buffelshoek Dam to see if we can't follow up on those lion tracks that we're seeing coming around here. Now, we're driving on the northern boundary of Djuma, which is Buffelshoek Cutline. And from what I can see from the tracks, last night this served as a veritable lion highway. Up, down, backwards, forwards, north, south, east, west. The lions were wandering about here last night, all male tracks. I think we're going to lose you if we go that. No, let's try that. We'll go sit on Buffelshoek Dam wall. I know that Brent probably touched on it earlier, but just so you know, we are currently practicing for television, which means that we have to now add to all the million things that we're thinking about. We also have to add adverts into the time frame. So we're going to be counting, or we're going to be introducing you to an advert that isn't going to happen. There aren't going to be adverts on this internet show. But it's just us practicing and making sure that we're on form for when television does come around. Now, when I say something like, we'll see you after the break, it doesn't mean that the show is ending. It just means that we are pretending that we have adverts. Hello, and good afternoon. We'll try and keep our movements nice and slow because we are very, very close to them. Oh, what a wonderful way to start off the Sunset Safari. I love a good dwarf mongoose sighting. They're such fascinating little animals and they're always busy, busy, busy up to something. And there's a certain curiosity to the way that they look at you. One at the back playing peekaboo. You very often find when they're close to their burrows like this that they feel comfortable enough to be out in the open because they know that they've got a bolt hole very close. So they're comfortable enough to have a closer look and just keep an eye on you as well. In that brief moment, we even kind of get to see the reddish glint that they have to their brown eyes. Oh, somebody's feeling brave, or maybe not that brave. Tucking down. Now, most likely, It's a guess, but most likely that mongoose that is on the right, constantly turning its head, seems bigger than the others. And judging from its behavior, there is a very good chance that it is the alpha male of the group. So within dwarf mongoose societies, you have an alpha male and an alpha female. They are the only two that will mate and breed. Sometimes the sort of subordinate females might get pregnant, but their babies very, very seldom survive. However, the reason I say there's a chance it is the alpha male is that he takes a very, very protective stance to just stand on top of your friend's head there. He takes a very protective stance when it comes to his family, and they often spend plenty of time keeping a watch rather than foraging. They'll actually take time off from feeding in order to keep an eye on whatever perceived threats there might be out and about. And as you can imagine, when you are the size of a dwarf mongoose, there are plenty of threats out there. Anything from an eagle to a snake to a young leopard learning to hunt, as we saw with Sindile many months ago, that young male leopard. And those shiny, shiny coats looking glorious in this afternoon sun. And those are, of course, maintained by a rigorous grooming process, both from the mongoose itself and then from other mongoose as well. They allo-groom each other as part of the bonding. The more dominant of the mongoose will get more of their helpers to groom them. It's kind of a way of currying favor with the highest ranking individuals in the group. Constant alert. And, oh, I was about to say, just like that is over, most of them have disappeared into their holes, but just every now and again they pop their heads out. What's happening? So curious. I'm going to try something. I'm just going to try a little bit of an imitation of one of their calls, and let's just see if we can get their attention. There you go. Some even coming forward to investigate. Donna says that mongoose are one of her favorites. I completely agree with you. They're such extraordinary little animals, and there's a level of complexity. Oh, I've very seriously attracted some attention there. There's a level of complexity to their dealings with each other that is so fascinating to witness. I've seen one particularly extraordinary, exciting on this live drive where the mongoose were actually, in response to the presence of a large snake, were busy moving their babies from one termite mound to another, and we got to watch them. It was actually VM and myself. We got to watch them carrying their babies across. And generally you will find them in these parts of a termite mound, in the vent and the sort of the tower chimney section of a termite mound. And Debbie, good afternoon to you. You wanted to know if they will eat termites and if they live in the active parts of a termite mound. And the answer is yes, they can. They can and they do eat termites, particularly the reproductive termites that suddenly explode out of the ground when it rains or just after it rains. They will come scurrying along the next morning to come and clean up. However, what they'll do is they'll live in it might be an active termite mound, but just with a sort of a disused tower. Oh, there you go, allo grooming in process. And that's actually an older mongoose grooming a young mongoose. You can see in just the difference in their sizes. Yes, Debbie, it'll be a disused part of potentially an active termite mound. So they don't really want to climb into the burrows and get swarmed with workers or soldiers, but there might still be the odd termite wandering about in there. as you know, most of the termite mound is underground, and these system of vents are only there to help maintain a constant temperature. A fantastic piece of engineering that serves as a home to all kinds of things, from dwarf mongoose to, in extreme cases, warthog or aardvark that have dug their way in and made a home there. And even snakes, which is why it's a very bad idea to stick your hand into a termite mound hole. This little group, sorry, I can't stop myself. They're just so incredibly cute. Rachel, you were wondering about how large a dwarf mongoose family group is. And it's about, it differs, but it's usually from around 10 to 15 is quite a lot of dwarf mongoose, but we do have a few family groups around here that are about 15 members in size. Once they get past that point, then it becomes really difficult for the entire family to stay together, and what will often happen, particularly for the females that want to reproduce, they've got that biologically driven urge, but they can't because the alpha female is the only one allowed to. What they'll often do is they will then disperse off and find another mongoose group into which they can be accepted. The amazing thing about that is that according to research, and it's the same, there's an interesting comparison here with wild dogs, but from what I can tell from the research, a dwarf mongoose female that disperses, so moves off away from her family, has a chance of becoming the alpha female much sooner than if she hadn't. And that's probably an instinctive response as a way of keeping the genetic line fresh. So the female will, if she has dispersed, research seems to show that they become an alpha at an average of around 2 years of age, whereas any female in a dwarf mongoose clan that hasn't dispersed will take much, much longer to reach that alpha female position, if indeed they ever do. So it's an interesting biological thing, because what is it that makes some females disperse whilst others stay behind and remain in their groups their whole lives? I couldn't tell you what possibly might drive it. There must be a degree of personality and physical fitness. Rachel, I've just been trying to scan the area to work out how many mongoose we've got in this group. I think we've got lots. There were a few foraging off further towards the dam, and I've seen this group before and done a head count of around 13 different mongoose in this area. So with this group, we're looking at about an average of 13. I think we're going to start moving across towards Buffelshoek Dam and just see whether or not we can spot a lion. Hopefully, let's hope there's a lion just lying in the shade, maybe having had come down for a drink. There are grey go-away birds calling a little bit further away, but at this time of day, at these sorts of temperatures, I suspect that it might be at an eagle rather than a predator. All right, little dwarfies. You are terribly cute. I've been very fortunate to be friends with a group of people who are professional dwarf mongoose researchers. What that means is that because dwarf mongoose habituate very quickly to people, it means that they get used to climbing onto the scales, and they can climb onto the researchers themselves at times. Found out some really interesting things about dwarf mongoose themselves. And just to keep you all in the loop as to what is happening, Brent has had to race back to the camp. Unfortunately, it seems as though Rusty has got some signal problems, but our tech team will be working on it as quickly as possible, and I'm sure you will see him back out on drive once again. I'm just having a look here, talking about lions and their presence in the area. It's a bit difficult because I'm about to go off the edge of a bump and into a drainage system. I can't find the best position to show you, but there is a big set of male lion tracks, and Liam's found a perfect one for you there. I'm going to jump out just so that I can show you in a little bit more detail exactly what it is you're looking for those of you who are uninitiated to the world of tracking big cats. Oh, I thought I was stuck in the door. It's not. I'm busy trying to pull the seat lever up instead of the door handle. Dearie me. I have one morning lion and I forget how to think. Here we go. Got a little drawing stick, and we were looking at this one, Vian.
Yes.
Thank you. Now here's the track itself. It's a bit obscured because the soil is actually quite hard, which means that his toe prints, where it's landed in the hard substrate, haven't come through as clearly. But what we're looking for is this shape here, the 3 lobes at the back, and then this is the outline of basically the equivalent of a lion's heel. So where it's put its foot like that, that's kind of where its heel sits. And then his toes are here. Here's 1 and 2, 3 and 4 are not so clear. They're slightly clearer a bit further back, but our angle's a bit tricky there. And that is a big male lion. It's not a lioness, even particularly because this substrate is quite hard. Sometimes tracks expand if the... Sorry, go away, birds are calling once again. I think we're going to go and have a look at Buffelshoek Dam very quickly. Just to finish that off, sheer size of this track, close to the size of my hand, makes it a male. Let's go and investigate. I'm going to cut short your tracking lesson, but I want to see what's upset those go-away birds. They've stopped now. I think it's an eagle. They've got a certain level of, not necessarily an eagle. I just want to figure out what it is. Any birds of prey, they get quite a frantic note. So while we go and investigate, let's head up and see what Steph is doing.
You caught us having made our way around those buffalo that you were with us a little bit of time ago. We've had to come all the way downwind from where they were, sneak through the bushes, and now we're on the hill that was on the other side of those buffalo. And we're making our way up to the crest. There's a very lovely seep line, which is like a spring in this particular area on the crest. And what I want to do is I want to go there this afternoon. They make for fantastic grazing areas for animals. What I'm hoping to find there is I'm hoping to find some zebra or some wildebeest or maybe even some buffalo or some elephant eating on the grass. That's late season grasses that the seep lines are well known for. And you're going to take the journey with us up this particular hill. Excuse the sweat on my brow. We've had quite a march up and through the drainage line, I must be honest. It's about 80 degrees Fahrenheit where we are at the moment. And although we'd call this our autumn, it's still quite warm, that. I'm sure you'll agree with that. Now while we're on our way here, obviously one of the things that I'm looking for is any sort of teasers. And by teaser I mean something that catches my interest. I'm very interested in all the small things here in the bush, and in particular one of the bonuses that we've got at the moment is spiders. We're seeing a lot of spiders here. But before I do that, I just want to scan the bush around us. So using my favorite termite mount, and what we're going to do is use the height to scan the bush around us and to make sure that there isn't anything that is in our way here. Gives me a little bit of height, allows me to see into the bush, and it also gives us time to listen. We've stopped walking. I'm not huffing and puffing as much as what I normally do, and we can walk off into the bush. Now, I hear the wind, or I feel the wind blowing from behind us up the slope. Not ideal. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we angle almost this way so that we can get away from the wind. But we are coming up to an ad break, and when we meet you back from that ad break, I'll update you on what's lying through this bush. All right, so we've now gone into ad break for all of those of you who are watching on our internet show, and we'll be back from ad break in a little bit. While we're doing that, let's carry on going through over here. I've just noticed a collection of bones where we're standing at the moment, and we've got a crime scene. As you can see, we've got a shoulder blade here, or what looks to be part of a pelvis. Yeah, part of a pelvis. That's the hip joint. And it's from a large animal, you can see that. That is from a very big animal. I'll give you an idea. This is where my hip joint will be. Have a look at that. That's a fist size hip joint, that. And then all the attachment muscles for the leg and the top of the leg all the way through there. Quite a dense bone. I don't yet know what this is from. I have an idea. It could be one of 3 animals: buffalo, elephant, or rhinoceros. Let's go and see what the rest of the story here can tell us. Quite difficult still to say, to be honest. We've got some vertebrae. Have a look at that. That's where the spinal column will go through, staring at me over there. And then they fit into one another, ball and cap. And the vertebrae will be able to move on one another, slide past one another, like this, with the muscle attachments going over the top on all the side. Now it looks to be a rhinoceros, to be quite honest. And I'm making that assumption based on this particular skull. Now rhinoceros die here all the time, and a lot of them actually die because males kill them. Can you believe it or not? Male rhinoceroses are quite aggressive, and very often they'll use these territorial fights and will spear one another with their big noses, and that's probably exactly what's happened right here. But while we're having a look at the rest of this particular carcass, I think Jamie's got something that she really wants to tell you.
We've arrived at Buffelshoek Dam. And there's no real clear reason for why it is that the grey go-away birds are calling. I can't see anything that's a threat. And they're sort of shouting across to each other around the dam. So I think perhaps it's more just they're having a quick conversation with each other. In the meantime, we have a resident. And in fact, I think that we have 2. It's just that we can't see the head of the baby hippo that is behind this female. I'm relatively certain that this is a cow and her calf. It could be a calf hanging out with a male if mom has gone missing or if they become separated in some way, as happened with that young hippo at Arathusa Dam. But I don't think so. She looks like a cow to me. She has got that narrow face, slightly narrower, gentler bone structure to her face. And unfortunately for these poor hippos, times are tough at the moment, and I think the reason that we always see them in that particular spot in this part of the dam is because that is its deepest part. It is slowly once again disappearing. She keeps lifting her head up because she can't lie in the natural pose of a hippo because she needs to get her nostrils around or upwards to breathe. So that perfectly adapted head shape for living in water isn't working out terribly well for her, just because this water is so shallow. A couple of terrapins on the outskirts. And welcome back. When we last saw you, we were busy following lion tracks, trying to work out exactly where they were going, and at the same time listening to the alarm calls of a bird called the grey go-away bird. We've arrived at the dam and we're double checking all around to see if there isn't a sneaky lion hiding off in the shade somewhere. Doesn't look like it though. Instead, all we have here are 2 hippos. Now that we've done the recap for an advert that you never went to, we're going to continue on, just chatting about her briefly. She is uncomfortable with us here. Now, we've given her plenty of space, but she's still showing signs that she's keeping an eye on us and that she is nervous. And it's the kind of behavior that if this dam were full, we would absolutely never see. She'd be quite comfortably hanging out around the middle with her calf, with no cause for concern. But with the water levels low, first of all, she's constantly exposed to the sun, which is guaranteed to put any hippo into a slightly grumpy mood, since they are not built, they have a very, very, very thin epidermis layer, which means they get sunburnt and they feel the heat of the sun exceptionally badly. It's why they live in water during the day. She's also just lifting her head because, as I mentioned earlier, she has to in order to breathe. And she breathes roughly every minute or so. She could hold her breath for up to 5 minutes, even 6, and I have timed a hippo once that held its breath for nearly 11. They do, when they're in a situation like this, they'll probably average about 1 breath per minute. What that means for us is that we cannot reposition to get a view of her calf, not without stressing out her little baby and the mom as well. So you'll have to take my word for it. You could see a little bit of the baby behind the mom, but I think we're going to leave her be since she is so nervous, and we're going to move on. Now, we can't go through this dip, otherwise we shall vanish from your screens. And what we shall do instead is go around to the north and see if we can't work out where those lion tracks have gone. I have a suspicion. All right, girl. See, we're going away. It's okay. I have a suspicion that those lion tracks have gone over the northern boundary. But while we go and check, Steph has found an 8-legged friend for you.
And this is actually a very rare sight. We've got a tropical tent web spider that has been caught in the open. She is this furry little ball that you see at the bottom of this web. And she has just moved out of her, there it goes, she's going to go hide there under the leaf. That's how we found her in a little bit. She actually came out because it looked like a fly had gotten caught in her web, and she came out to come and test what was it that was making her web shake. But this spider builds one of the most fascinating webs that we have out here. It's called a tropical tent web spider because, I don't know why it's called the tropical, by the way, except that it grows, she actually lives in the subtropics. But tent web is where I really want to show you. She's got a horizontal orb web. What I mean by horizontal orb web is what you probably having a look at right now is this very fine veined web that is at a horizontal plane, and it's used to catch jumping and flying insects. Jumping, flying insects. Grasshoppers are what this spider specializes in, grasshoppers and small beetles. And she gets the tent web from the fact that all these entanglement snares, which I'll show you in a bit, pull these spires and these peaks out of this tent and make it look like a circus tent. And from the angle that you're at, you may just get views of these little spires and these turrets where she gets her name from. A very shy spider. You saw her retreat into her leaf as soon as she got movement, and her eyes are actually good enough to pick up movement as big as what we are and at the distance that we were standing, and she went to go hide underneath her retreat. But you'll see that this spider web is a lot more complex than what you can actually imagine. This spider web has a net of entanglement snares that's as wide as my hand, literally going from here to here. And what that is exactly what it means. A grasshopper will be aiming to fly through this straight at you, fly into this and get caught up in these strands. These are not sticky, these strands. They're just there to entangle. And you can actually see she's come out. She's reacting to the vibrations felt on these particular entanglement snares. As the insect then tries to get out of these entanglement snares, they give way and the insect falls ever lower and eventually falls onto her web, her horizontal web. And that is made of incredibly sticky silk. I'm going to show you here at the end of my grass how sticky. I'll just barely touch, barely, and you'll see that I'm pulling the web already. You can see how it made those vibrations. Have a look there. It is incredibly sticky, that. Made up of thousands and thousands of little globules of glue that she sticks to the web when she makes it. Now this web probably takes a good 2 to 3 hours to make, and that means that she doesn't actually eat the web after she's finished for the day. A lot of spiders after the day or after the night will eat their web. She doesn't do that. She spins the web once and then she just makes repairs to it throughout the season. Coming to the end of the season for her, unfortunately, at the moment, the first really cold snap that we have over here will kill her, but by that stage she would have already have laid the eggs for next season, and the next season's babies will be hobbled right here, probably underneath that dead leaf, waiting for springtime. Amazing. I'm actually quite glad that we got to show it to you, because to see tropical tent web spiders are actually very, very difficult in the open. Alright, and we carry on with our search for something interesting today. And as you see, we're actually coming to quite thick bush here. There's a termite mound in the distance, but I think I'm going to skirt that in favor of actually moving through this thick bush and getting onto the other side of it. While Jandra and I find ourselves a nice path through this, I think Jamie's got an update for you.
Oopsie daisy, we've come to... Oh, thank you very much, mister. Some guys on their way home from work. This is one of the main access routes to and from the different camps in this area. We're just going to go past. How's it? And off we go. Just a quick update on the lions. While you were with Steph, I heard that they are now on Buffelshoek. I'm relatively certain that it's the ones that we are tracking now, or that we were trying to track now. There's 2 males and 3 females, so 2 Birmingham boys most likely, and the 3 Nkuhumas. We know that one has retired to a drainage line where she is caring for 3 little babies. The question is, where is the 5th lioness from that pride? Where on earth has she vanished to? She's been absent for quite a few sightings with those lionesses now. I would say that it must be actually close to a week since we last saw 4 lionesses together and not just 3. It makes me wonder whether or not she has also gone to seek a nice den site somewhere. There was one female that was looking particularly pregnant when I last saw her, and her nipples were starting to become more prominent, easier to see, which usually happens to a lioness just before they give birth. There's a chance that she's moved off to give birth. If it's not her, then I'm not entirely sure where that missing lioness has gone. There was one lioness mating with the Birmingham boys about a week ago. We knew where she was at that point. I don't know whether or not she has returned to that pride. But for now, we're just going to keep checking around Buffelshoek Dam because we have an incomplete number of lionesses. And of course, the male lions as well. Oh, we have wonderful news to you, something to make you exceptionally happy. Brent is back up and running. Rusty has signal. Let's go back and join him.
So our tech team was able to fix that quickly with the aid of Brian Joubert and his tall friend. It was just a little problem with the cable. Whoa, squirrel! Suicidal squirrel! Where are you going? That squirrel stopped and then decided to go again. Where's he gone? Oh, he's disappeared. But that squirrel, okay, he stopped and then he said no, he's going to make it. And he just tried to commit suicide there, but fortunately we managed to miss him. Let's turn that down. So I'm just listening to what Andrew's got to say about what was happening on Cheetah Plains this morning. So there's some good news as well. So Inkanyinin has left her 2 cubs at a place called Kudu Corner, and she moved into Cheetah Plains, but without the cubs. So we're gonna get on the road now and try get down to that area and see if we get a bit more luck. So she was heading towards a place called Buff Pan, and that's about 500 meters from Cheetah Plains Pan. Buff Pan's dry, so Cheetah Plains Pan's got water, so maybe she'll head there for a drink this afternoon. So Luca has asked a very interesting question, and that is, when do leopard cubs get their names? Well, Luca, now that all depends. Generally, when they get to a year old, so up till about a year, leopard cubs have about a 75% mortality rate. So most of them don't make it to that year mark. So once they get to a year, that mortality rate drops exponentially to about 15 or 20%. So generally then they're named because they're probably going to make it. So normally at about a year old. But the rules can always change, so we'll see what's happening. Brian, the aerial's popped down. There we go, sorry. I'm going to wait for Brian to reattach. So our aerial has to be on a springy system. Now, there we go. So the reason for that is when we do go off the road or under bushes, the cameramen are able to bend it down so it doesn't break. There we go, thumbs up, that's cute. Okay. I've got a feeling the killer bees are going to find a killer sighting today. Of course. But also the interesting thing, we're going to start seeing a lot more of this as we get to Cheetah Plains, is they're quite close to sort of the more basalty soils in the Kruger. And that big pan there, the Cheetah Plains pan, is going to start bringing in lots of animals, particularly zebra. And that'll be the closest watering point. And I think in general in this northern Sabi Sands, we're going to notice that the zebra population is going to increase a lot as it gets drier, and they're forced to come away from the basalt plains where there's very little water to this area where there's more water. So while we rush off down to the eastern sections, Steph has got some interesting fauna to show you.
Now, you know, these particular trees, they look like nothing when you're approaching them, but I tell you, they've got some of the most vicious thorns that we have out here. This is a black monkey thorn acacia and is browsed heavily by almost all species out here. Elephant love it, kudu love it, giraffe love it, nyala love it. But I tell you, this tree is putting up a decent fight. Not only is this tree covered in viciously hooked thorns, and I mean, have a look at those recurved thorns. Those are designed to deter an animal from putting their face into the bush and not being able to pull it out. So, hooked thorns tannin is very astringent property, and it dries up all the spit that we have in our mouth, and then I know it's got tannin. It does exactly the same thing to a giraffe, for instance. Now, what's the amazing thing about this particular tree is these trees talk to one another, and they talk to one another by being able to smell one another's distress. I know it sounds a bit weird, this concept, but just bear with me for a while. So what giraffe do is they almost always feed nose into the wind, and they feed into these thickets. Hold on. Jean-Ray is really battling to get out of this tree. Have a look at that.
Thanks, Dave.
Hooked his arm off. Oh, and I'm really battling to get over this astringency while I'm trying to talk to you. But anyway, so this tree, as it's being fed on and its leaves are being picked, as I'm doing that right now, this tree is actually increasing the tannin levels in these leaves. Can you believe it? But not only this tree is increasing the tannin levels in this tree, but all the trees downwind from this tree are also picking up the tannin levels. And that means that if a giraffe had to feed downwind, in other words, with the direction of the wind, it would become, the leaves that it goes and eats will become gradually more and more distasteful on the plants all downwind from this, to a point where the giraffe stops eating black monkey thorn and goes and eats something else. Isn't that interesting? Eh? Tannin and thorns make this quite a formidable little tree. We use this wood for furniture. We don't eat the leaves, thank goodness, and we can use the thorns for quite a handy toothpick. I'm going to show you now. Taking out my Leatherman, you cut it at the base. You then take the thorns off of it, just one, because you don't want to hook your lip like I do. You pare it off there, and of course mine is blunt. Ow, and I've pricked myself as well. And then what you do is you use it as a very handy hook in the back of your teeth. I don't really want to show you what I've eaten for lunch, but anyway, that's what you do. And you use it to hook out pieces of food that are stuck in the back of your teeth. A very handy toothpick from a black monkey thorn. Let me just clean off lunch. All right. All right. We're still trying to make our way up to the crest of this hill. We just keep on getting sidetracked by all these interesting things. But while we make our way through this thick bush, Jamie's got an update for you.
I hear that Steph has been making... Aha! Let's just see where this bird goes. Wow, that was incredible camera work, VM. Absolutely amazing. There was a goshawk there. It was being mobbed by another bird. I think it was a drongo. VM did fantastically to capture that on camera because that bird was moving at such high speeds. Wow. Incredible. See if we can't get another view of it. I think unfortunately it has pretty much flown away. It's amazing how brave birds like fork-tailed drongo really are when confronted with an aerial predator, particularly of that size. Because a goshawk or a shikra or even a lizard buzzard, first of all, they're specialized birds hunters. And second of all, they're not cumbersome in the same way that some of our larger eagle species are. In other words, they can twist and turn and change direction almost as fast as a fork-tailed drongo can. A fork-tailed drongo taking its life in its claws, so to speak, when it takes on an aerial predator like that. Oops, daisy. My microphone just slipped out of my pocket. All is well. What I was going to say was that I hear Steph was making a toothpick out of the thorns of the acacia trees. I think it landed somewhere here. Well, my friend Emma, who has pierced ears, has the most stunning earring that a volunteer made for her out of a large acacia thorn. So it's not just for picking its teeth, can also be for things like that, creating jewelry. We made, what else have we done? We made, I don't think that bird's there, by the way, he's moved off. We made Christmas decorations from the thorns of the sickle bush, not the thorns, sorry, the seeds of the sickle bush, which are kind of like, almost, they're sort of the same shape as a pine cone, but they have these really intricate twists and turns, and we spray painted those and we made them into Christmas baubles. Then of course there was the fantastic Christmas tree that Scott and several others constructed for us out of a dried up branch, essentially. It was then hung with baubles and other decorations. Dead moths were put on there. It was our version of a bush Christmas tree. So there's plenty of things you can make out here if you've got a creative mind. Not just for practical uses, but also fun projects to create things as well. I wonder where that goshawk went. I haven't found a goshawk. I did find a steenbok, and in fact I think I found a pair of them. Oh, there we go. We spent too long looking at it. That sometimes is just the way that a steenbok responds. The second one is coming. Oh, there it goes. 2 females. Most likely because steenbok are particularly territorial when it comes to members of the same sex. That was probably a female and an almost fully grown youngster. Apparently, Steph has a demonstration up his sleeve. Let's go and find out exactly what he's up to.
Now for a lot of you, this just looks like a big pile of spongy vegetable matter, but in actual fact, this is what's left over after an elephant has had his lunch. This happens about 12 hours or so after, or 24 hours actually, after an elephant has had his lunch. It comes out as this very spongy, fibrous dung made up of, well, it depends on when it was done. If it's in summer, it'd be made up mainly of grass. In winter, it's made up mainly, well, of sticks and leaves. So let's just see when this was. Now, inside here, I'm seeing small sticks, but I'm seeing mainly grass. Now you might be wondering to yourself, what is this lesson all about? And I want to show you that elephant dung is one of the ways you can transport fire from one place to another. Obviously it's quite difficult to make fire. I've made it relatively easy for myself by having an ever-present flint or magnesium stick with a striker. And what you do is you basically put the striker into the matter and you strike sparks, which I've heard are probably about as hot as the surface of the sun, so 5,500 degrees. Have a look at that. And we have fire, everybody. Now, elephant dung, you blow. And inside there, you'll see that there's a little coal smoldering. And then you wrap this up nice and tight. There's enough oxygen that gets through here to allow this to smolder. And as soon as it's burnt out, you just take it and you light another piece and another piece and another piece. When you get to your camp, you take whatever fibrous material you've collected throughout the day, you put it in there. And voila, you have fire. It will overwhelm me for a while there. Another interesting use for this particular piece of elephant dung. Elephant eat a massive amount of woody species of plant, and a lot of the species of plant out here actually contain medicinal purposes and medicinal compounds. Now, elephant dung is said to be a wonderful cure for headaches. Now, there's a bit too much smoke, but you bathe in the smoke is how it's described in bushes. It's got quite a perfumed aroma. This one's quite pungent because of all the grass that this particular elephant's been eating. You bathe yourself in the aroma and your headache goes away miraculously. Obviously because all the compounds are being burnt that this elephant has been eating. Now, the Sabi sands is very dry at the moment, so what I don't want to do is make a fire that we can't put out. And so it's always a good idea to stamp on all of the coals that you can. We obviously don't want the wind to come up tonight. And now I've killed all that fire. We obviously have a nice camp to go through and go back to. I don't have to worry about carrying fire tonight, at least anyway. And on that note, we're going to send you up to Brent.
Well, Steph apparently has been practicing his fire baking skills with elephant dung. I've always been told that if you burn elephant dung and you inhale the smoke, it helps to fix headaches. And it's one bush remedy that I've tried many times and I have never managed to get it to work. I don't know what it is. It actually always gives me more of a headache than I had to start with. It makes for fantastic kindling, but I personally don't buy into the medicinal smoke properties of it. I suppose it kind of depends on what the elephant's been eating and what you're burning, because some of the trees out here do really have pain-killing effects. Something like a sickle bush, like we were talking about earlier with the Christmas decorations. Well, a sickle bush can be, the bark can be boiled up and made into a concoction that does actually have really, really good pain-killing properties, basically like in the same way that aspirin is derived from willow tree bark. The sickle bush bark works in a very similar way. We've come right south to the southern eastern corner of Djuma. Just to investigate and see if there's any sign of those lions popping out, but I think unfortunately most of them have, even the missing lions I think have probably moved further north towards Buffelshoek. There's tracks crossing out everywhere. I'm just going to wave a quick hello to Mike, see which way he wants to go. How's it, Mike? How are you? Hi guys, you're going that way. I like how you have a working indicator. Cheers. That's interesting. Mike's indicators work. I wonder if mine do. Yes. Yeah, the indicators, so what you would flash in order to turn. And he was busy flashing that he was going to tell me that he was turning right. But no, not so much on Wendy. We don't really often need to use them out here. If you ask anybody driving in Johannesburg, it seems as though half of the population of Johannesburg doesn't want to use them at all, doesn't consider them to be of any value to them. Of course, every time we come along the southern boundary of Djuma, the first thing all of us look for is the Queen of Djuma herself, Karula. She spends a great deal of time, or she is spending a great deal of time at the moment, coming backwards and forwards along this road and crossing north to south and taking her two adorable little cubs with her. We'll be keeping track of her then. Making sure that she has come back across. We are going to continue along the boundary and we will catch up with you after the break. now are, in theory, in an ad break. However, lucky for you, we aren't having any adverts today. Do you have a beautiful Nyala bull? In the shade of a drainage line or a river system. And right like this, you can see the fringe of white that runs along the top of his mane. He's actually going to walk back. Oh, no, he's not. He's going to stay. Or is he going to walk back into view before I reposition? No. And he's going to move up along the path. Off he goes. One of the best looking antelope that we get out here, particularly the Nyala bulls that look completely different to the females, much darker in color with their thick shaggy fur, and then their bright tan stockings. All in all makes for a very striking mixture of aesthetics. Oopsie. So obviously looking for the Nyala, I nearly drove us into the drainage line. Right, we really are going to continue on along the southern boundary. Let's find out what Brent's plans are.
So we've arrived in our Eastern Traverse Cheetah Plains, a magnificent part of the world, borders the Kruger National Park itself. So there's always a chance of seeing some new creatures that might meander through. I heard there were 2 new male lions that were seen just to the north of here a while ago, but they were young and very skittish, still running from the cars. And of course, it's always a good chance to see cheetah as we head towards those open plains on the south and east of the reserve. And we're going to make our way directly towards Cheetah Plains Pad. It's the only water in this part of the world, so it tends to draw in lots and lots of animals. So also a good part of the world to look for a few different leopards, and we're going to be looking for one of those leopards this afternoon along the northern boundary of Cheetah Plains. And at the moment, you can see we're still up on the crest in the Combretum woodland, or mixed broadleaf woodland, slightly different from Juma's Combretum woodland. You notice the trees are quite a bit shorter, quite a bit tighter. The sand here, well, it's very sandy, the soil here, so it's slightly different, even though the species are the same. Whoops, you didn't see that one. Elephants causing a little bit of deviations. Hello, Cindy in North Carolina. Cindy saying she misses the giraffe. They're so beautiful but seem to be very elusive. Well, they are quite elusive in this part of the Sabi Sand, Sydney, and very good reason for that. I just want to check for tracks on this road. The cheetah quite often like to use that. It's due to the fact that we don't have many acacias in this part. So our predominant tree species are Combretum or bush willows, and they're not that tasty. Giraffe prefer acacias. So where there are more acacias, you're going to find more giraffe. So we will try to find some giraffe for you. But hopefully towards the east, we have seen quite a few in that area over the last little while. Just checking carefully for tracks. Quarantine, the male leopard's been up and around here recently. welcome back, and you haven't missed much since we've been gone, apart from the fact that we have jetted all the way down to our eastern traverse, and I'm on Cheetah Plains, and we're hoping to find some animals at the waterhole that's coming up shortly. It's right on the border of the Kruger National Park and the only water in this area, so there tends to be quite a lot of animal movement at this time of the year here. So very exciting, and hopefully there's going to be something waiting for us at the waterhole. And if you'd like to know more about the animals of Cheetah Plains, or the bush at Cheetah Plains, or anything at all about the African wildlife or fauna and flora, you can do that by sending us an email at questions@wildearth.tv, or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, and we will hopefully be able to answer any question you send to the best of our ability. So, almost no clouds in the sky, beautiful late winter's afternoon, and just having a quick look here. Nice little sodic, or not sodic site, a seep line. So still quite a bit of grass on there. Often attracts lots of different types of herbivores. Let's hope they're lazing at the waterhole. Waterhole's just through here. So while we make our way towards the waterhole, let's go back to Steph and see what he's up to.
Well, we finally made it to the crest of this particular hill, and I must be honest, it's not as spectacular as what I was hoping it to be. I know that there's a spring here somewhere, but it's taking me a little bit of time to find it. And the reason for that is because we're drying up so much with the drought at the moment, and with the dry season in full effect where we are now, is that it's actually quite difficult to follow bands of green. We've got a lot of evergreen trees where we are at the moment, but nothing that's that vibrant green that shows that there's water there. And that's exactly what I think is leading me around. So what I'm planning on doing is sort of circling this hill, and eventually I'll find out where the spring comes. Eventually we'll find exactly where this particular patch of green grass is that I'm looking for. In the meantime, we're actually in this quite interesting thicket of what we call baboon's tails. Now, I know this doesn't look like much, but they're actually beautiful plants that get this really green fluffy head with a purple flower over it. And this is used by the local Nyangas, or actually the Sangoma. A Sangoma is like the African version of a witch doctor. And quite often, Sangomas will plant these plants all through their homes. And the reason for that is that this plant is said to ward off lightning. So they use this particular plant to ward off lightning, the Sangomas, which are like the shamans, the witch doctors of these particular areas. Isn't that cool? Have a look at this little grasshopper that we've just found here as well. He's clinging for dear life onto the end of the stick. Grass-like grasshopper. And that would be exactly what that tropical tentweb spider that we had a look at a little bit earlier, this is what that tropical tentweb spider is busy looking for. This baboon's tail has a big bulb underneath it. You can see, I don't actually know what they use the bulb for. There is a use for it, but generally speaking, this particular plant in this area is used to ward off lightning. But you see we're in a thicket of these baboon's tails. Now, they almost always grow on the tops of these hills, and the tops of these hills are really just very sandy seeps. Thick sand, deep sand, all from a granitic base. And what I mean by that is that, here you can see I've dug in there. When you sift all the dust out of it, you'll notice there where my baby finger is, at my nail, is a piece of quartz. And if you had to wash this, oh, and there in between, there's some quartz there as well. A very, very quartz-rich soil that water just falls through. And granite breaks down into clay. And clay is what makes our watering holes waterproof out here. But on that note, and while we make our way to find this particular seat that we're looking for, give us some time to snoop around here a little bit more. Brent's got an update for you.
Look at this. So we've got 3 buffalo cows at the Cheetah Plains waterhole. Now that is quite unusual in itself. Only 3. Normally, and especially at this time of the year, the buffalo herds are quite big. A couple of hundred normally. So when you see 3 buffalo cows alone like this, it means they've more than likely had a tough night last night, or even this morning, being chased by lions, and they get separated from the main body of the herd. And they sort of came careering in here, very thirsty. And that buffalo, the 3rd buffalo, who's just out of frame at the moment, has spotted some movement and is staring into the bush to try and make sure whether it's a danger or not. It's not, it's an impala. Have you got him there, Brian? I don't know. There he is. There's a female impala. So just moving around the edge of the bush, the buffalo got a little bit nervous. Just wanted to make sure it wasn't a potential threat. Very, very pretty. The water's so still. Very light breeze at the moment. It's quite a beautiful setting. Oh, and Cape turtle dove flying. They're flying across screen there. They're also coming down to the waterhole to get a drink. Now, let's leave these 3 buffaloes and head towards the other section of the open plains. Oh, Brian's got some nice reflections. So get some screenshots, guys. There's some arty ones for you of the buffalo reflections in the water. Sorry guys, I just need to be on the radio for a second. Shanae. Afternoon, Shanae. Whereabouts on your cut line? Oh, firm, I'm at CP Pan. Okay guys, I've got a very exciting bit of news on the radio, but I'm going to keep it to myself. And I'm going to go see if we can get there quickly. But while we rush off, let's go to a grey tusked beast.
Hey, Brent's got exciting news. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's going to be wonderful. In the meantime, keeping my voice quite soft because this female warthog has very kindly decided that she wants to walk right past the back of the car. I'm just going to get her come around and then we can reposition. Poor VM having to launch himself all the way back around to get a view of her. She is perfectly relaxed, unlike the male that was with her. He went into a flat panic and here he goes. Panic, 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 panic. Trotting off. That was highly entertaining. It's always very funny watching a warthog racing. There's something very comical about their body language. Now that tail in the air is completely instinctive in a warthog. In theory, it's so that the babies can follow their mothers through long grass when they run away. But I'm not 100% convinced that that is the case. Because males do it, all warthogs instinctively raise their tails in the air when they start to trot. The babies will do it from a very, very young age. I don't quite know what it is. Nobody really knows what it is that makes warthogs go galloping along with that tail sticking up like a marker. Because you'd think if they were being chased by something, they really wouldn't want to have something very easy to follow in the air behind them. Now, no one really knows exactly what it is. And that running trot is a very typical speed of a warthog that is worried but not panicked. A panic warthog will absolutely go into a flat-out gallop, and they can move incredibly quickly. Over to Steph now, who has found more things on foot.
Have a look at this rare treat that we've got for you here, and this is a female orb web spider that's busy constructing her web. You can see what she's done is she's about 90% finished actually, and all she's doing is she's putting in the very sticky radial lines that she's got there. What's quite interesting about her is that she'll eventually end, whoops, right in the middle. And what happened there was, as I bumped the stick, she thought that there was an animal here. And now what she's doing is she's just deciding whether or not she needs to go to the middle or run away and hide. What I'm actually hoping that she does is she just carries on spinning the radial lines of her web. Now these radial lines are the sticky part of the web. All these lines, these horizontal lines, these many of them here, are bands of silk that have lots of little tiny globules of glue on them. Now these orb web spiders have spinnerets, that's where the silk comes from. She spins it right from the end of her abdomen, right there. And there are, in the orb webs at least, about 7 different kinds of silk that they can spin in any mixture that they choose. And the orb webs can spin all 7. There she goes. Decided that it wasn't too much. Have a look at that. Now Rachel has asked me about, apart from the orb webs, what other type of webs do we get in the area? Now Rachel, you get these horizontal. These are the ones that catch flying insects, flies, moths, butterflies, etc. And you get the vertical ones, the horizontal ones. This is the vertical one, excuse me. And then you get the horizontal ones. They catch grasshoppers and jumping flying insects. Then the horizontal webs go down to the floor. And then you get webs like the funnel web spider, which have webs on the floor. And then you get hunting spiders, from very primitive hunting spiders to very advanced hunting spiders. Some spiders out here can even spit their silk. Can you believe it? You get spitting spiders here that can inject venom into their silk and spit it out of their mouth. And they're one of the most advanced of the spiders here. You also get net casting spiders here. Net casting spiders spin a silk that they can stretch and they can drop down onto prey and entangle it like that. The ogre-faced or the net casting spiders. This particular spider is an orb web spider. You can see she's now gone into the middle of her web. She's holding all these radials with her feet, and she's waiting for vibrations. She's got very sensitive hairs called trichobothria on her feet, and with those trichobothria, she is using there you go, she's caught a fly. Look. There she goes, she's got her first meal. Quickly spinning it. So what she's done, there we go, she's just bitten it and bites it again and bites it again. And what she's done basically is she's very quickly immobilized that fly to stop it from flying away. She's injected it with her venom. Oh, now what she's doing is she's just bitten it. Now she's busy snipping the strands. And what she's going to do is she's going to take her first meal away. We've got something big approaching us from the back. I just want to see what it is. When you're out here and you're part of the food chain like we are, you've got to be so careful about noises. But let's come back to her. Look there. Now she's busy spinning it into her web in the middle. And she'll lather that and keep it for later. Now part of her venom that she's injected in there, not only got these noises happening behind us and I don't quite know what it is. But here she's busy eating, starting to eat her prey. But part of her venom not only immobilizes the prey and kills it, but it also starts the digestion process inside the fly. So it'll actually start to neutralize that fly's cells and to break them down into a juice. And then she'll suck up that juice, and that's how she gets her sustenance. It's a very easy meal for her in actual fact. Caught the fly. You can see a little bit of damage here to her web. She will then come in a little bit and come and repair that. For now, she's just sucking out the juices on that fly. What a treat. Now, I think we need to find what is making the noises behind us. And while we do that, I think Brent has got an update for you.
So we rushed off because this gorgeous female leopard just crossed into our traverse area from the north. And this is in Kanyanini, a female. She's got 2 cubs, probably around 5.5, 6 months old at the moment. And she is fast becoming my favorite female leopard within our traverse areas. She is absolutely gorgeous, and we can see her spot pattern there. So when we refer to the spot pattern, it's the top set of spots above the whiskers, and she's a 3-3. So nice easy one to remember. Now she's left her cubs probably about 3, no, maybe not that far, 2.5, 3 kilometers from here. So she's out hunting at the moment, but like most big cats, they walk for a while, then they like to take a nap for a while. She does look like she could be quite hungry, and there is a nice big herd of impala not too far from here. So of course it's quite difficult being, oh, look at those flies on her ear, wow, terrible creatures. Those are stable flies sucking her blood, and they cause those damage to the tips of the ears. Now, when female leopards leave their cubs, they can leave them for a couple of days. And Kathy in Florida is wondering, do the cubs know to stay put? They do generally. They get quite a bollocking from the mother if they don't. And they will normally stay within that area, not move too far off. But as they get older, they get braver and they tend to wander a bit more. But they generally respond when she calls, and they'll come running back. So I think this is only the 3rd time this leopard's been seen on Safari Live. First time was with Sam, and both the last times I've been lucky enough. And this is Brian's second time. Second, were you with Sam?
No, I was with you, I think, the first time this one was seen.
Really?
Or it was a different one. I can't remember the name now.
Oh, Shiluva, yes. Oh, look at this, she's opened her eyes. Oh, back to snoozing. So, the last time we saw her with both the cubs, but a very brief sighting, as she scuttled down the boundary, and she was running away from Quarantine, who stole her kill. And of course, Quarantine, if he got hold of those cubs, he would kill them. Oh, look at those eyes. Isn't she just to die for?
Yeah, this was my first time then I'm seeing it.
Yes, Brian's first time. And the killer bees are back with a bang.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, out of all the females we see within our traverse area, I would have to say it's between her and another relatively new leopard. Oh, now I've forgotten her name. We saw a while ago, but as the 2 prettiest females. Now, she's got a nice, lovely dark coat. Oh, she's tired kitty. And thanks, Kat in Tampa. It says the killer bees are back on form. Yeah. So, guys, I don't know too much about this leopard, so I'm sure some of our avid viewers will know a bit more. Keep an eye on all the leopards in the Sabi Sands. Could you let me know how old she is? how many litters of cubs she's had. I know she's had one before this litter, and Shiluva was her daughter, that leopard we saw on Cheetah Cut Line. Very comfy kitty. So if you know a bit more about this female leopard, let me know by sending an email to questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. So we are in a, there we go. Sorry, just listening for a second. Zoe's wondering if leopards get ear lice like domestic cats. I think it's a strong possibility, but I think a leopard's got a lot worse than ear lice to worry about. The ticks and various forms of lice, flukes, tapeworms. So even though a leopard looks like an incredibly clean cat, it's not. And even when you are handling them for veterinary purposes and that, you should always wear gloves to make sure you don't pick up any of those parasites that are on a big cat. Oh, heads up. Well, hi Finn. Finn's 8 years old. So nice to have you on Game Drive with us, Finn. Look, the leopard's looking at you. There we go. She says, hi Finn. Finn is wondering, do the cubs get scared when their mommy leaves them behind? To a degree, yes, Finn, and that's what keeps them safe. So being scared, they won't move too far from where mom leaves them because they are scared when they're not with their mom. And that's what keeps them safe, and they'll generally stay near a big tree so they can run up it to get away from hyenas and lions and even a male leopard. So I think it's definitely worth spending some time here. I think she will go hunting, but when is the question? And of course, we're on her time, she's not on ours. And right now, she looks extremely comfortable. Oh, big thank you to Karen, who's part of our Wild Earth family, and she has let me know that she was the daughter of the Beacon female, who used to be the dominant female in Buffels Hook, and she was born in 2006. So 10 years old, looking really, really great for a 10-year-old leopard. Now, female leopards can live a little bit longer than males, or do live a little bit longer than males, but then again, around 14, 15 is normally when we stop seeing them. You don't ever really know what happens. They sort of just disappear. And so her territory is the eastern part of Cheetah Plains, through to Nkoro, into Torchwood, and then most of her territory actually lies to the east in the Kruger National Park. So it seems like a couple of her stable flies have come to join Brian and I. So Alan in New York is saying there doesn't seem for him to be a ton of variations in a leopard spot pattern. Now, I would disagree with you. Although the number of the spots is often quite similar, it's the arrangement. And from an ID point of view, there is no other real easy way. That spot pattern is the easiest way. I mean, certain leopards like Karula's got that very distinct wow between her forehead. I think Quarantine had a question mark. Or was it Kanuma?
pound sign.
A pound sign. Quarantine had a pound sign. But normally, it's that spot pattern is definitely the best way to go. Now I'm just trying to have a look if I can show you another 3-3 spot pattern that's quite different. Aha, I think I know who is 3-3. And so there you saw her 3-3 spot pattern. Now we're looking at another leopard that's also a 3-3 spot pattern, but you can see it's quite different. There's the 3 and the 3, but the 2 are almost joined on that one. So there we go, and I'm sure a lot of you know who that is. That's young Cinderlai, or Cindile, with the correct pronunciation. He was re-released back into the Sabi sands and is being monitored at the moment. So hopefully we'll catch up with him on drive one of these days. So we're going to sit here and play the patience game with this beautiful female leopard, and hopefully she will get up and go hunting shortly. But till then, let's go see what Jamie's up to.
That is really exciting news. I have yet to see Inkanyeni, but I thought I did the other day, I really did, but apparently that was Tundi. We never quite got to have a good look at her just because of the position that she was in. It turned out to be Tundi and not Inkanyeni that we were looking at on Cheetah Plains as well. Now, I have exciting news of my own. Actually, that's not true. Viam spotted tracks belonging to Shadow coming onto the property. It's been a long time since we've seen Shadow out here, so I'm just making extra specially sure that she hasn't crossed out of the block where we saw her tracks going in. So she's come from the southern, a property to the south of us called Hoffman's, and she's moved north into Djuma. And that is really exciting news. I didn't see any sign of cub tracks with her, so she might have been on her own hunting, just like Inkanyeni is going to be doing later this afternoon, fingers crossed. But I think that at some point we're going to have to go and have a little stroll.
How come with that?
Ah. There's an elephant there. Thanks, Viam. Sorry. Amazing how a pachyderm that size can disappear behind the tree, especially when you're looking in the opposite direction. Just bear with me for 1 second, because the reason I got distracted there was someone was trying to call me on the Game Drive channel, so I'm just going to chat to them quickly. Go ahead, Mike. Mike. No? Okay. Guess he doesn't want to talk to me anymore. And we've got a female elephant. There's actually a herd of them all around us. Now that I'm sitting still, I can hear them moving about. She's very much enjoying a snap. Hello, little one. Maybe just starting to edge out in front of us. Come on, little one. Out you go. What a nice surprise. I've been wondering where all the elephants are. It seems as though we go through days where we are, I wouldn't say overrun with elephants, but it seems as though every corner you turn round, you find another breeding herd. Now, we have found them once again. We do occasionally go through some very, very quiet patches where they are completely absent from our traverse area. This female is currently feeding on what looks like one of the bush willow species, possibly a cluster leaf, just munching away. beating the branches every now and again in order to get rid of any dust and dirt that's on it. Oh, didn't like that one. No big girl. Ah, is a silver cluster leaf. Oh, we've tried those before on drive. We've eaten a few leaves of that particular tree, and the effect that it has is exceptionally uncomfortable on a human being. Dries out your mouth completely and makes it feel very, very strange and fuzzy. I immediately want to go and have a sip of water to get rid of the feeling, and I know that I tricked Dave into tasting some not too long ago. This herd doesn't seem to be in a hurry to move off anywhere, and they will still be here when you get back after the break. Okay, and for our internet viewers, you will not have to be dealing with any additional ad breaks. We are indeed still with the elephant herd. She's actually got relatively thick tusks for a female, and you can see really clearly there where she has broken them off. Look at the tusk on the left in particular. You can see that there used to be more tusk there, and it's sheared off in some way, whether it's through a natural fault line or some other reason. Oh, we've got lovely images of the incredible trunk. Her beard, lovely beard that she has. Hello, big girl. Wandering straight across behind us. It's always special having an elephant like this in such close proximity, especially a female as peaceful as this one. Totally relaxed with our presence, despite the fact that I didn't even see her before we were past. There's the little one, following behind, old enough to be brave enough to be separate from Mom. Tusks just starting to come through. Hello, Mischief. And what have you got to say for yourself? It's okay. It's all right. You can come past. This rustling of trees all around us. This little elephant, probably around 3 years old. It's all right. Getting called by Mum. You can almost immediately tell from that behavior, even before I was able to see carefully, you can tell from that behavior that it is a female. Male calves of that age tend to be much bolder, braver, already showing signs of the bulls that they will one day become. The female's a little bit more retiring, not quite so brave. Hey, little girl. It's okay, you can finish your mouthful. Eating on the run. To join, most likely, off to join Mum. I'm pretty certain that that is Mum, just by the level of comfort that that little elephant was showing in terms of responding to her. I need to go off and track a leopard of my own before it gets too dark. In the meantime, let's head back to Brent's leopard.
Drive down that little open area, right opposite you, and you should see me. Sorry guys, welcome to White Oaks Elementary. We are with a female leopard. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and I have Brian Joubert as my cameraman, and he's got a friend they call the Thumb. So we're sitting with this female leopard. She's the dominant female leopard in this area, and she's got 2 cubs, but she's left them in a bush about 3 kilometers that way because she's out hunting. She's taking a little break at the moment, but we are hoping she's going to start moving. So Mrs. Bartlett's class, what a way to start your school safari. So guys, you must send me questions. What do you want to know about leopards? since we've got one right in front of us. Beautiful adult female. She's 10 years old. And she's having a little snooze. So it's not uncommon for leopards to move for a little bit, then have a snooze for a little bit. They sleep for about 18 hours a day because they have trouble with heat. So there we go. See, she's sleeping on her legs. And if we go down her belly a little bit, you can see she's a little bit hungry. So that's why she's out hunting. You can see there's a little bit of a dip in the tummy. When a leopard's full, they literally got really, really round, big bellies. Here we go. Now, oh, she's heard an impala. See how she just changed so quickly. There's impala just behind us. She's on the hunt, guys. Hold on. This is so exciting. She's just taken off at full speed. I'm going to try to get there, but it is difficult to move through the bush. Oh, she's running towards where she heard male impala. There she is in the road. The impala up ahead of her. Isn't this exciting? The impala there, the impala crossing the road. So the impala crossed just in front of her. Look how she's changing her body. She's trying to get lower so the impala can't see her. Now leopards can be very, very patient hunters. So they're ambush predators. What that means is they try to sneak really, really close to whatever they're trying to catch. Look how she's flattening her ears. So she's trying to make her body outline less visible. So she's just watching where the impala are, and she might disappear either to the right or to the left of the road, depending. Now, it's very difficult to catch animals, and it takes quite a bit of energy and effort for a leopard to catch something. So look how she's trying to move very slowly, very slowly. She doesn't want to get spotted. See, now she's trying to make herself as flat to the ground as possible, so she'll merge in. I think she's looking at impala we can't see. We can't see the impala at the moment, but they're probably about half a football field away. Now, everything will alarm call at a leopard. So when I mean everything, even the birds will shout and warn the other animals that there's a leopard around. So she's got to be very careful in her stalk, because right above her are some birds that really like to shout at leopards. They're called grey go-away birds. Those big ones flapping there. Oh, she's lucky, they're leaving. Oh, coming back. So there we go. And if they spot her, so they might shout if she moves, and they'll warn everything that she's there. Look at that. Isn't that incredible how she's literally become one with the ground? So a reason leopards have spots, or her spots are actually called rosettes, and it's to break up her outline. So most animals only see in black and white, so they don't see color. So that camouflage works very, very well, especially if there's any shade or even in the thick grass. This is so exciting. I'm so happy you guys are here with us. So we've got to be very patient with leopard hunts. Sometimes they can take a very long time. Hi, Michaela. Michaela wants to know, what type of things do leopard hunt? Well, Michaela, they hunt impala, which is an antelope about the same size as white-tailed deer that you get in America. Although it's not a deer, it's an antelope. So generally you would say small to medium-sized antelope. So sometimes they can catch some bigger stuff, but normally it's small antelope, impala, duiker, steenbok, and also babies of the bigger antelope. Baby kudu, baby wildebeest, baby zebra. Now a leopard, for its size, is an incredibly strong animal, and it can lift just more than its body weight. So she probably weighs around 100 pounds, and a big male impala probably weighs about 130 pounds, and she can probably lift that into a tree. Normally the female leopards will hunt smaller things than the males. The males will be able, because they're bigger, be able to catch bigger things and to lift those into the trees. So half the problem is not catching it, it's being able to move it into a tree where it's safe from hyenas and lions. Look how still she is. Isn't this amazing? Hi, Nathan. Nathan wants to know, do leopards live in groups? They don't. They are solitary. The only time you find groups of leopards is normally when it's a mom and babies. Now, you will sometimes find males and females together, and that's when they're making the babies, but sometimes the males like to steal the females' kills because they're bigger and stronger, and they can be a bit lazy. So instead of hunting for themselves, they will try to steal the female's kill. So it's very important for us now not to move around too much, but we're going to stay right here with this leopard. While we do that, Jamie's got the biggest animal in Africa to show you.
Oh boy. Sounds like an incredible moment with Nkanyeni, but we have just had the most amazing time with this young elephant bull. It was absolutely hilarious. He pulled up a root from underneath the ground and he wanted to come and intimidate us, and he started using it like a whip. I have never seen anything like that. I really at one point thought he was going to hit Wiem, the way that he was swinging that tree root around. It was so entertaining and so incredibly intelligent, the way that he'd worked out how to use that branch. It was very important for us to sit nice and still during a display like this. Oh, and the angry Ellies off in the distance, screeching at each other. It's very important because this is funny when they do it at this age and at this size. It is not going to be very funny if he grows up to be a 5 or 6 ton bull that then decides to behave in such a stroppy manner. And it really was. It was a proper teenage tantrum that he attempted to take out on us. Now he's hilarious. He was pretending to eat initially, just to sidle up closer and closer. And then at one point, he actually knelt down on the log that is lying across in front of us. He knelt down on that, stood there, and stretched his trunk right out to the point that it nearly touched the side of the vehicle. Such a special moment. Now I know, or I suspect, that if I start to move forward now, he's going to try and chase us. I think he's going to try and prove a point that he is as big and scary as any big male elephant out here. It was all absolutely fine until the cow that we were with earlier caught on to what he was doing and obviously got a bit worried and a bit upset for him. She was watching him very closely. Now, in my experience, you don't obviously want to come between an adult elephant and their youngsters and part of the herd. They are very protective. But in my experience, you usually find that the mothers know who the troublemakers are. And I think she realized, in watching what was going on with us, I think she realized that he was causing trouble with us and not the other way around. Because she came and she looked at us with big open ears, looking intimidating and scary, and then relaxed once again and showed us every sign that she is nice and calm. So special. African elephant blinking in the setting sun. There's a very, very large elephant coming up through the back there with huge, long tusks. And in fact, I think it is a female, and I think it might be one of the largest females I've seen since I started working here. Hard to tell though. I'm just going to wait and see if she'll come through. And hello to Peyton. You were wondering how long elephants live in the wild. And the answer is they can live all the way up to 60 years old. This is a very, very old elephant. I can tell by how prominent the bones are on her skull. This is a very old Ellie. And I think it is indeed a female. The elephants usually live around 50 to even up to 60 years of age, so almost as long as a human being. And in that time they acquire so much wisdom. They learn so much. Elephants are one of my favorite animals to spend time with because they are incredibly intelligent. And especially an old girl like this one, who know all of the secrets of the bush and where to find things and what to do. She is beautiful. Oh, I don't know if you could hear that sound, but that was the sound of an elephant farting. When they eat a lot of leaves and a lot of grasses, they produce a lot of gas in their digestive system. The way that they break things down means that they have lots of gas that they need to get rid of, and they do it very regularly. So it's very common when you sit with a group of elephants like this to listen to the sounds of the bushes rustling as they eat, the sounds of their breathing and their ears flapping. And then also the occasional sound of an elephant farting. This is a really old female. She's entitled to a great deal of respect. She is beautiful. While we sit with our elephant herd and enjoy the peace, Steph is out on foot. Let's see if he's found anything exciting.
We're trying to find some baboons. We've got some baboons that are just in the forest in front of us. And we can hear them barking, but we can't actually see them. And I want to see if we can get you a view of these baboons on foot They're usually quite scared of people on foot, but you never know. And a baboon is easily 4 times stronger than what I am. 4 people's muscles packed into that baboon. So let's go forward a little bit and see if we can see him. Now, we might be lucky and see this baboon in the top of that tree. Now, I'm moving a little bit quicker because those baboons are going to be looking for a place to go and sleep for tonight. And I want to know where they are. They make this almost dog-like bark. It's almost like a wow noise. I don't want to do it too loud and scare them away, but I think they're just here in the thicket somewhere. I'm getting jumpy at every little flicker of movement that I see. Baboons get eaten by leopards and they get eaten by lions. And because of that, usually with baboons, they have a lookout that sits at the top of a tree. And that's exactly what I'm trying to find now, that lookout that's sitting at the top of the tree. And you might be able to hear that bark. We call it a bark, but it isn't really. Now Kelly has asked me what baboons eat. And Kelly, they are omnivores. And what an omnivore means is it eats meat and it eats vegetables, just like we do. So omnivores are meat eaters and vegetable eaters, just like us. And apart from having very long canines, that's a canine. Baboons' canines are that long. They also have molars like we do, like that, those back teeth. If you feel with your tongue, those flat teeth that you got at the back of the mouth, those are for vegetables. And these teeth, and these ones, are for meat. Baboons have exactly the same. Let's go see if we can find it. Now, I think these baboons are going to be moving down the slope. They're bigger trees close to the river. See me standing on my toes trying to find them. I think we may have found him. No, it's just a shadow. They are somewhere here. But rather than you watching the back of my shiny bald head, I think it would be a good idea to go and have a look at Inkanyeni, and if we find them, we'll call you to come back to us. So she hasn't moved. She's actually gone to sleep again. So those impala moved a little bit far away, and she's very, very patient. So she's going to wait until either the impala move closer to her or till it gets a bit darker and she's able to move around a little bit more freely. But there's impala out of sight now, so I'm going to move around so we can get a better view of her. So she's still keeping very flat because the impala are in the area. So unfortunately we're in one of the worst areas for our radios. So I just have to listen carefully. Now, Ellie is wondering, how can I tell that this leopard is 10 years old? How do you tell leopard age? Well, Ellie, fortunately we have such a good documentation of the leopards here. She was seen when she was born,
And I'm going to show you how we tell the difference between the different leopards right now. Let's get Brian into the best spot so he can show you that leopard nicely. How's that, Brian? A little bit left hand down. Give you a bit of wiggle room. There we go. So Ellie, if we look carefully at her whiskers, there she is. Now, you can see her last line of whiskers. Above are 3 little spots, and I'll show you a little bit closer now. So she's got a 3 spot pattern, and each individual leopard, it's like a fingerprint for them. So she'll have those spots in that exact spot above her whiskers from when she's a baby, and that's how we're able to identify them. And also with female leopards, they don't move too far from their natal range. When the baby this becomes big enough to leave home, and the mother will actually give it a part of its territory, so to help them get an easy start in life. Now, I know it's a bit difficult from the way I'm explaining about where those spots are that we talk about as spot patterns, and I will show you an easier photo to see those spot patterns right now. Okay, where's that photograph? Here we go. So this is just a bit easier so I can explain it to you. It's a photograph I took of a different leopard who's also got a 3-3 spot pattern, but it's a bit different. So you see there's 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. So that is his spot pattern. It's 3-3, and it is like a fingerprint or an ID for leopards. And I think, there we go, I'll show you what hers looks like. Just do this quickly. So she's also a 3-3. 1, 2, 3, but not the same shape. And 1, 2, 3. So there we go. That's how we identify the leopards, and that's how we know this one is 10 years old. There, of course, are some leopards we don't know how old they are. We just sort of guess. And how you guess is you look at their ears to see how worn the ears are from being bitten by flies. You look at the size and if they've got any prominent scars, and it can tell you a little bit about. But again, once they're adults, it's very difficult to tell how old they are till they get really old, and then it's a bit easier. So up until about, with females, up until about 2 or 3 years old, you can tell it's under 3 years old, but after that, it's very difficult. Hi, Alyssa. Alyssa wants to know, how fast are leopards? Now, they're very fast, but for very short distance. A leopard's top speed is about 24 meters per second. And I will tell you how fast that is in feet. And there we go. It does 78 feet a second. Isn't that amazing? But it can't do it for much longer than about less than 50 feet. So it does it very quickly. It's about 90 kilometers an hour. And I know you guys use miles. And so 90 kilometers an hour is about 55 miles an hour at its top speed. So we're going to stick here with this snoozing kitty cat. Hopefully she gets up and starts moving just now. But while we do that, Steph's got another member of Africa's Big Five to show you.
Now have a look at that. We were with these buffalo a little bit earlier today. In actual fact, they had to force us to walk all the way around them because they were at the pan and we were on the other side of them. And now we've got the same problem. For us to get back to camp, we've got to try and walk around these buffalo again. I'm sorry to say, but those baboons ran away from us. I couldn't even hear one more peep from them. And they weren't sitting in the top of the trees, they were nowhere. So we've had to cut short our search for that baboon because we've got those big bad boys over there to look out for. Now buffalo are usually quite lazy, especially when it's nice and hot. But now that the sun has gone down, they've cooled down, and now you can see that they're moving. And that means that we've got to be extra special careful. But it also means that we're coming, some noises behind us again, but it also means we're coming to the end of our walk. The sun has gone down, you can see there. Just this nice pink rosy glow in the background. And that means that it's time for us little humans to go back to our nest. But it isn't quite finished just yet. We're still going to make our way across this dam wall. We're still in for a bit of an adventure while we do it. Now, I'm just trying to keep my eye on as many of them as I can. Keeping my eyes peeled. And McKenna has asked us if all buffalo have horns. Absolutely, McKenna. All buffalo have horns. The males and the females have horns. The babies don't have horns when they're born, but very soon after they're born, they start to get these little horns that come out of the top of their head, and then they start that long sweeping curve that they have. Very similar to American bison or musk ox or yaks. So they're a type of wild oxen. They definitely have horns. And they use those horns to fight with one another mainly, and also if there are lions around. Lions will quite often eat buffalo, and they use those big horns that they've got with a big sharp hook on it to hook at the lion. Very, very many lions are actually killed by buffalo. Not quite as many lions are killed by buffalo as lions kill buffalo, but they definitely do manage to do some damage, that's for sure. Now we're just going to come to this viewpoint again, and then we're going to count these buffalo from where we're standing here. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buffalo. I'm sure there are more than that. We got 5 buffalo. So what we're going to try and do, we're going to try and walk across this dam wall here, and hopefully we can use some cover of those leaves in the background over there to give us some cover so that we can get past these buffalo and we can get to some safety close to where our camp is before it gets dark and I have to cry for help, which will be quite embarrassing for me, so we won't tell anyone. Alright. Now, while I do that, it would be the best thing for you to go back to Brent, who's got that lovely leopard that he's lying with at the moment.
So as you can see, she hasn't moved a muscle, but it does look like she's dreaming if you watch her whiskers. So even though it looks like she's completely fast asleep, and she is, those ears of hers will pick up on anything that might try to sneak up on her. Now, if we look carefully in her right eye, there's a tick. So that tick is busy drinking her blood, and when it gets fat and full, it'll fall off. She's a very pretty leopard. There we go, look at her dream. Isn't that just sweet? And I don't know if you guys can hear that. Tuk, 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 tuk. There's a woodpecker in the background drilling for borer beetles in a big acacia tree behind us. We can't see it from here, unfortunately. And you can see how she's flicking her ears constantly. There's little biting flies that are also after her blood on her ears, so they what keep her flicking. And you just, if you look behind, you see her body has a little, almost like a nervous tick or twitch, and that's an instinctive thing that most of the big cats have, and it is to help keep the flies off them. So it is starting to get a bit cooler now. So she still hasn't moved, so we're going to sit here and fingers crossed she gets moving soon. But while we do that, let's go across to Jamie, who's got a striped donkey.
Look what we have here. One of Africa's most famous animal. We sometimes nickname them stripy ponies or donkeys in pajamas. They are zebra. And in this case, it is the plains zebra. Also, it used to be known as the Birchall zebra, but this is the plain zebra. And this is the male of the group walking behind his whole herd, making sure to keep them safe from any dangers that might want to creep up from behind. Sounding just like a horse. It is basically an African horse. Really interestingly, there is a story about why zebra have stripes, and I have to go on the game drive radio just quickly. I'm very sorry. I'm going to just do this very quickly. Standing by. Copy that, thank you. I'm on my way. Sorry, guys. Mrs. Bartlett, I know that you did have a question about insects and whether there are any insects that can pass on dangerous diseases to the animals. I just had to have a quick chat with one of the other guides. But yes, there are. It's tsetse flies that carry sleeping sickness, and there's a couple of tick-borne diseases such as heart water that the animals can get through ticks, and a type of almost like a flu-like virus that is borne by the ticks, tick bite fever. It's the rickettsia, not virus, it's the rickettsia bacteria. So there are some ticks that pass on diseases to animals like the zebra and giraffe and buffalo. And there's a few naturally occurring diseases here as well. A lot of the animals here have tuberculosis, for example. And it's only when it doesn't really affect them, it's only when they start to get weak and ill for another reason, whether it's through injury or through age, that they first start showing symptoms. Now, I think that I got so excited about the elephant earlier that I didn't even introduce myself. So, just so that you know, my name is Jamie, and VM was on camera this afternoon. He was showing you all of those wonderful images. And now it comes time for us to say goodbye. So, have a wonderful school day. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that we get to see you on the back of our safari vehicle very, very soon. Bye-bye, guys. And for our regular viewers, we have a really exciting surprise planned, which is why I absolutely had to get on the Game Drive channel when I did. It seems as though today is a day filled with leopards for your entertainment. Because there's a leopard, and James Richard, I hope you are watching. There is a leopard that we have not seen in over a month, and he is just waiting around the corner for us. And off we go to go and join them. Isn't that incredibly exciting? On our way to Tingana. And while we are going there, let's go across to Brent, who's also having a fantastic afternoon.
Oh, and you join us a little bit out of breath. We had to try and hightail it out of the way of those buffalo, and in so doing, we managed to bump into some nyala, which I'm going to try hard to show you at the moment. We're quite safe from those buffalo at the moment. We managed to get in front of them, and by knowing the terrain, I know that there's this big open area here on our right hand side, and by knowing the terrain, I was able to move around the buffalo and move into a safer position. But have a look at this bachelor herd of nyala that we've got here. And why I say it's a bachelor herd is that it's made up completely of male nyala or bull nyala. And it's quite common for immature male nyala to form these bachelor herds with one another. And usually there's an old nyala that's with them. So a bunch of immature males, or not juveniles, but immature males like old teenagers, and then an old male. What we're going to try and do is let's get a bit closer and see if we can see which one is the old male. The guy who's teaching these young males how to fight, what food to eat, what to do in danger, imparting his knowledge basically. Now, it looks like, there we go. There's the old boy there. You can see what he's doing. He's erecting that fringe of hair that he's got on himself. That's called a piloerection. He's now gone behind that termite mound, which will allow us to get a bit closer while he's there. So come, there's one there. There he comes out there. That's him there. Isn't he a fantastic animal? Now he's erected that fringe of hair, not at us. He's erected that fringe of hair at those young males. And it's called posturing when they do that. They'll stand side onto one another, erect that fringe of hair, and it's just basically a beauty contest. He wouldn't like me telling you that it's a beauty contest, but it is nevertheless. All right. Now, it's getting very dark where we are at the moment. You can't really see that, but we need to get onto this open area, and we still got those buffalo in the area, and we need to get around those buffalo. And so we're going to leave you on the walk. Thank you for joining us today. As always, your questions and your comments and the adventures that we have with you are so awesome. And we're going to leave you with this nyala. And while we do that, and after we do that at least anyway, you're going to go back to Brent, who's I'm sure still with that beautiful leopard.
There she's up on the move. She's going the wrong way for us a little bit. Looks like she's moving closer towards the northern edge of our traverse area. But we will stay with her for as long as we can. Are we behind us there, Brian?
No, that's okay.
Hi, Aaron in New Zealand. Aaron would like to know, how big is she compared to Karula? Aaron, I think she's a bit bigger than Karula. She's probably got a good 10 kilos or so on Karula. So she is moving steadily towards the edge of our traverse. Canyon is up and mobile, heading northeast back towards the coral boundary. Here she goes. She's going to pop out on the other side of that baby leadwood shortly. And I've been really looking forward to having a leopard sighting on these red soils. Oh, she's going to stop for another snooze already. Actually might have smelt something. I'm just going to find my map, make sure we don't go meandering where we shouldn't. Big prominent termite mound coming up ahead, and leopards often like to walk, although I think she's still after those impala who ran into that area. You've got her, Brian?
Yeah.
And you just see her tail through the bush. So we're not going to drive too close to her. We're going to just keep our distance a little bit. You can just see that white tip of the tail. And often when we're driving through the bush, that is what we look for when following and trying to find leopards. So Sarah is wondering how far away can a female leopard be from her cubs. Sarah, she can be very far, up to 7-8 kilometers sometimes. We want her to turn around. She's not going in a good direction for us. Yes, that's it. If she stays on that line, she's okay. But if she keeps heading to the left, she's going to cross out of our traverse area. You got it, Brian. I've lost sight of her. Oh, it's getting a bit. There she goes into the guarri thickets. There we go. Just see her tail flicking out through that bush there every now and then. Okay, I'm just going to try. I've got to try get around through here. And there's some very nasty bushes here that like to give flat tires to cars. We don't want to do that now, do we? So she's moving through there. There's impala ran into this area, so she's waited till it's a little bit darker before heading in here. Now, last saw her just over here. Brian's expert spotting actually got her. She is moving. Oh dear. I think she has crossed. Unfortunately, she has decided to head back towards the cubs, which are to the north of this. She's probably going to hunt through that area. So hopefully she comes back in the morning. Hopefully she decides there's more impala down here than over there. But as we have no control over where the leopards go. But speaking of leopards, let's go to Arathusa and Jamie, who might have a little surprise.
After an he is looking particularly deep in thought. Look at him. He looks as though he's... Oh. In that case, irritated by the flies. Oh, wonderful. And Andrew not to breathe and basically not to move too much, just because our signal is so concerned that we weren't going to be able to show him to you. And yet, here we are. Look at how comfortable he looks. The most bizarre position, but he's found himself a really nice spot. Hello boy, it's been a long time since we last saw you. Oh, there we go, back to his contemplation. I wonder what he's thinking about. And James Richard, I'm glad you are so thrilled to see him, as I'm sure most of our viewers are. can't believe... Oh, there's a hyena. Hanging about, hoping to catch a morsel from this leopard. However, he's not going to be in luck because I don't think that Tingana has a kill here. I'm just going to do a quick look around. No, doesn't look like it. Hello, Sneaky. Coming to investigate, are you? There is a chance that this hyena actually followed the vehicles here, which is why we do not spotlight leopards when they're on the ground, or when they have the kill on the ground, or why we do not stay with leopards with small cubs after dark, just in case it is true that the hyenas have learnt to follow vehicles and the lights of vehicles. This is amazing. 2 spotted predators, one very good at climbing and one obviously not very good at climbing. And Tingana, he knows that hyena's there. He just could not care less. The hyena, on the other hand, is having a good sniff around in the hopes that maybe the leopard has got something up a tree. But nope. For tonight, it will have to look elsewhere for a meal. One last curious, almost frustrated look. And off it goes. Hello. Off into the night to find whatever else it can. And before it gets too dark, Judy H., you were wondering if Tingana has a new nick in his ear. And yes, I noticed that as well. I didn't realize it, or if I have seen it before, I haven't remembered that it's there. The top of his ear does look a little bit like it has a nick there. He looks so concerned.
I think maybe he can't make his payments this month.
VM has just said, do I think maybe he can't make his payments this month? He does look like a man with a lot on his mind, or at least a leopard with a lot on his mind. Maybe he's thinking about his girlfriends and the fact that they all have cubs now.
Child support.
Child support. That's very funny. Zoe, you were wondering if we can tell the difference between the personalities of the leopards. And yes, absolutely we can. You get to know them, each an individual leopard, relatively well the more time you spend with them. Tingana, for example, is incredibly easygoing. He is such a relaxed leopard. He certainly looks it at the moment, now that he's shut his eyes, so he no longer looks terribly concerned. I cannot believe that is comfortable. It just looks so unpleasant. He looks like he's twisting his spine, and yet somehow leopards manage to make even the most awkward of poses look as though it's the most comfortable they have ever been in their lives. I've never ever seen a sleeping leopard fall out of the tree, despite the fact that it really doesn't look like he is terribly well secured there. Tail dangling right down. Oh, he doesn't look like he's going to be up and moving anytime soon, but you never know. It is getting dark, and you'll have to stay tuned and join us after the break to find out if he does. And for those of you watching us on the internet, which is all of you this afternoon, part of our advert practicing, we are still with Tingana, obviously, and I'm just going to provide a little bit of light here. Let me actually take it down and around him. don't want to shine right on his face, so I put the center of the light sort of in the middle of his body so that he doesn't feel too uncomfortable. And he doesn't look concerned in any way, and he does look as though he's sporting quite a full belly. I've seen quite a few Tingana and hyena interactions before, and our beard, you were wondering whether a leopard would ever be bothered to chase away one lone hyena. And the answer is generally not, unless they're feeling protective over their food. First of all, a big adult male like Tingana could probably give a small hyena a run for its money, but for the most part, hyenas are higher up in the predator hierarchy than leopards, and ultimately no animal out here wants to risk having some kind of injury that might put them at a severe disadvantage. So it's very unusual for adult leopards to try and chase away hyenas unless they're trying to defend a kill. Young males, on the other hand, tend to be different. Young males of most species tend, like our little elephant earlier, they are a bit cheekier and often looking to establish their boundaries, figure out where their boundaries are. And that's why young male lions are often the ones that will attempt to chase away leopards or attempt to catch leopards. They're often the ones that hunt prey that is far too large for them, like rhino. I've seen them try and hunt rhino before. And the same goes for young male leopards. Apparently I was told the story of Kunuma swatting a buffalo on the backside and then racing up a tree, one of Karula's young sons, and then also climbing his way right out into the thinnest branches of a tree and nearly falling down. It's just one of those examples, back to our previous question, one of those examples of how you can tell the difference between the different leopard characters. Even within Quarantine and Kunuma, from what I've been told, I haven't had the opportunity to get to know either of those leopards as well as I know some of the others, but I've been told that they have completely different personalities, and you almost always see that from the moment of that leopard's birth, or at least from the moment that we first start spending time with them. One cub is very often more bold, big yawn, and slightly more energetic and more playful, and the other more more shy and tiring. And that's something that we've seen with Karula's cubs, would be a good example. He's looking incredibly peaceful. And as you can see, our leopard has not moved while you were away, but nevertheless, welcome back to this incredible sight that we have here. A leopard draped across the branches of a marula tree, framed against the purple of the sky as the sun starts to set. It's almost a lilac-colored sky this evening. Isn't that just beautiful? Absolutely stunning. He's thinking about moving. We've had the odd yawn, and he's now staring off intently into the distance. Now, I heard some impala barking behind me, so I think that there is a good chance he might decide to try and hunt them. The one thing I've noticed about Tingana is that he hardly ever seems to go all that hungry. I very often see him with a nice full belly, but something has attracted his attention. He still looks so concerned. I don't think I've ever seen Tingana look like that before. Oh, another big yawn. Look at those teeth of his. Now, Africa has many beautiful things, but I'm not sure that it comes better than a leopard asleep in a marula tree. It really just is such a typical African pose. And since he doesn't seem to be moving about or planning on moving about anytime soon, let's find out how Brent is doing since his leopard walked onto a different property.
So we're getting ready for the nocturnal part of our adventure today. Spotlights out, and 75% of the more interesting smaller mammals only come out at night. They are quite difficult to find, but we're going to do our best to try find some of them for you. So we're now on the southern boundary of Cheetah Plains, and I'm feeling cattish, small cattish. Oh, there's, oh, no, oh, a big hawk moth just nearly landed on Brian's head. But let's get moving. And this is an area we haven't explored much at night, so I'm hoping it's going to produce some surprises for us. Brian and I were just talking, and we're both very keen to keep sort of the killer bees record up and, you know, to be the first to show you guys an art form. So Aaron, from the land of the long white cloud, is wondering about the old dominant male leopard that used to be on Djuma, Cheetah Plains, and this whole area. His name was Mvula, which means rain in Changan. And I haven't heard about him for a long time. The last I heard, he was down near the Londolozi boundary. He's being pushed by Anderson, he's been pushed by Tingana, he's been pushed by Gajima, he's being pushed by Shivambalan. So he's become a nomadic male. And when male leopards lose their territory, they become very, very nomadic, and they can often be seen many kilometers. Quickly across to Jamie with the leopard.
Here we go. It seems as though Tingana has decided to get up, or at the very least change position, giving us an entirely different view. And he is about to come down the tree. Oh boy. Did you have to pick that side? It's quite the leap he's got to make. He's a good, I would say 5, maybe even 6 meters up in the air. And it's a totally straight trunk. Which way is going to be easier? Oh, maybe not now. Maybe I'll tackle that a little bit later. Hey, Tingana? Yes? No? Oh, this is absolutely stunning. And Shamel has suggested that instead of looking concerned, Tingana looks somewhat relieved that he isn't having to deal with the attentions of so many. Oh. Oh. Yay. This is incredible. call of a big male leopard at night. And he just gave us the perfect example, that deep, deep sawing that we heard the other night right outside my house. We were going to bed and then we just missed out on seeing him. He crossed out of our area, traverse area, and now he's come back to us. I'm just going to reposition ever so slightly, obviously, since we can't currently see his head. And if he does start to call again, then I'll switch off immediately so that you can hear what an extraordinary sound that is. Just taking off our side lights. That one took me by surprise. Okay. Let's take the opportunity now to reposition. He's just telling all of the other leopards in the area that he's here. He's big and he's strong, and he means business. We're going to get another one. I don't want to go too far just so that you can hear the sounds of him sawing if he does do it again. And now we've got the perfect view for when he does do it. Oh, wow. Wonderful. Sniffing the air. Is there an image that captures the wildness and the beauty of Africa more than that? A leopard in the dark. And Zoe, this is the first time that you have heard a leopard calling, and you've been watching since December. I'm so glad that we could share this moment with you. Isn't it wonderful how each call starts with that little growl and then ends with it as well? I can hear Impala alarm calling, but I don't know if they're alarm calling at him. Alright. Let's keep up with him for a bit, see if he's calling another leopard. Maybe there is a female around here. Maybe his reprieve is over for now. Just got to be careful not to blind Andrew's guests. Guys, if he continues to go into this drainage line, we are not going to be able to follow him. We're going to lose signal, unfortunately, so let's just hope he calls one more time for us. And then we are going to have to leave him unless he comes a little bit closer towards us. Unfortunately, that is just the way of things. And we managed to get signal, and we did manage to spend some time with him. This will be the last few moments that we can spend with him. Unless he pops up on the road to the north of us, in which case we may well be able to have signal again. I will do my utmost. But if we follow him into this dip, we're going to disappear off your screen. Oh, having a good sniff. He's going to urinate. Urine spraying and marking his territory. And off he goes. Like a ghost in the darkness. Okay, let's try and loop around to him. I know if I follow him through this dip that we will lose our signal. And we're going to have to try and go around and hope that we can find him there.
Hello, hello, welcome back. We are still in search of some nocturnal creatures. And I was going to go down the main drag, and then I thought, you know what? Let's drive a road that's not driven too often. Maybe it'll give us some luck. There were also tracks of a male leopard that came through into this area. So if we can't find a little cat, maybe we can find a big one. And we're still getting to know cheetah plains properly. And we don't spend too much time here in the northwestern part of the reserve. We don't rush off down to the open plains. It is quite thick, so it can be a bit challenging to see a lot of animals. But I think at night it might start working for us, because there could be some of those other creatures we don't see too often in these thick areas, and they come out and start using the roads as paths as it gets darker. Oh, he's gone. It was a bush baby, but a very fast one. Oh, he's a bit far as well. Let's try to see if we can find one a bit closer. I thought he might jump towards us, but he jumped the other way. No. What do we have here? Very interesting. So one of the more common predators in the Sabi Science Game Reserve is the spotted hyena. I have yet to see a spotted hyena on Cheetah Plains. Brian, have you seen one? No. And I know Jamie hasn't seen one. I don't think James has either. Those are hyena tracks there. They seem to do their meandering very late here. We haven't even bumped one while we're on our way home. Now we're going to go have a quick look at the water hole, which is in front of the Cheetah Plains Lodge. Now, the Styx lionesses have been using it, and I'm hoping one of these days they're going to bring the cubs out here. So we're just going to have a quick look down here for tracks, and even better if we can see the lions. Those cubs are quite young, so if we do see the cubs, I will not be putting a spotlight on them, and we'll just have a quick look and then leave, because we don't want to put any external pressure on those mothers. I actually heard today that there are now 9 Styx cubs. The 2 younger lionesses had 4 each, and the old lioness had 1. So very interesting, and I cannot wait to see those little bundles of joy. And our best chance at the moment of seeing those cubs is in this western area of Cheetah Plains. No sign of any tracks yet. This is also, we've now left in Kaya Amini's, that other leopard we saw, that female. We are now in sort of on the edge of Tundi's territory. So Tundi's independent daughter. who lives mostly down to the south of us in Malamala. Oh, I don't know if this was the best decision. We're right next to a dry riverbed. It's quite chilly down here. And the one thing the killer bees very much share in common is a real hatred of the cold. And we generally have got more layers on than anyone else in camp when we go out in the mornings. And it has been such an incredible drive. 2 leopards, Tingana sawing right next to you, and scent marking Nkayani running after those impala. Oh, I really thought we were going to have some luck with her as she charged off after that rutting impala. Next time. So we came down to Cheetah Plains looking for a cheetah, and I will say I'm not too displeased with having the other spotted cat instead. So while we keep checking down here in the west for any sign of any type of critter, I just want to check in this shallow depression, open area here quickly. And this is where I found lots of lion tracks, lots of leopard tracks. No, doesn't look like anything's here. So I'm sure Jamie can't wait to chat with you about that incredible sighting of Tingana.
It is so exciting. And you know what I've just realized? First of all, he just called from a bit further north to where I thought he was. He's moving fast. And second of all, I've realized a year almost to the day ago, this is where I very first saw Tingana, in this exact spot. I had totally forgotten about that, but it was back when I was here on my interview drive, and the first half of the sunset safari I piggybacked on the back of Brent's vehicle and we went on a game drive, and he brought me here. We raced here at the speed of light to come and follow up on a report that Tingana was in this area, and he went south into Shirley's, and I can't believe it's been a year. All that time has passed since we last saw, since I've been here and been in this area. It was good timing on his part to come back here. Nature is beautiful. Has said that Tingana is the best and that they absolutely love him. And I don't blame you. He is a wonderful leopard. Liam, you also really like Tingana, don't you? Yeah, he is cool. He's cool. He's a cool cat. He really truly is. He is the dominant male leopard in this area, so he is a center figure as in terms of our characters. He's the likely father of, most likely of Karula's cubs, quite possibly Shadow's cubs as well.
He's had a mark, did you smell it?
He just marked. I can't smell anything except petrol, but I think he's gone straight through. His tracks are not in the road. He's going in a straight line. Keep an eye out on the Arathusa Dam camera because there he is. He's in the road. There we go. Oh, there's a kudu barking. Yes, we got to hear that and see that one last time before the end of the sunset safari. going to be the last few glimpses we get of him because I'm going to leave him to his hunting. There he goes, moving off. We're going to try and squeeze in next to Andrew. Thanks, Andrew, just for a couple of minutes. He's heading off quite possibly in the direction of Anderson's territory. And Aaron, sharp, thanks, Andrew.
Thanks so much.
We're just, oh, there's another kudu barking. Oh, he's going to go off into the bushes. It's because he's been spotted by that kudu. Okay, he's got that limp. He has got an injury on his back leg, a deep gash of some description. I don't know how he acquired it. Quite possibly hunting. Oh, and this is going to be our last view of him. Oh, deep bark of a kudu. I've got to move out of the way so that Andrew can follow. There he goes. Sorry, Aaron. I got so distracted by what was going on that I completely forgot to answer your question about if Tingana were to meet up with Anderson, would he back down because of Anderson's superior size? And the answer, Aaron, is we've seen it happen once before, the two giants of the leopard world meeting up around the border of Arethusa, the boundary of Arethusa on the western side. Just concentrating, there he goes. See if Andrew's behind me. I'll go back into him. He's moved through the bushes. Let me carry on. Try and find him for you for the last few moments. Aaron, in that case, Tingana and Anderson growled at each other. They lay next to each other, about 20 meters apart, so 60 feet away, and growled. And growled and growled and growled. So that's very often how physical confrontations are avoided in the leopard world. In that case, there was no confrontation whatsoever. But yes, size does matter in a lot of instances, but less so in terms of leopards. There's also the fact that the characters of the leopards, the individual characters, actually play a role as well. So the more aggressive an animal, the more likely it is to be victorious. Well, I think we're going to leave Tingana to go about his hunting without following him through the bushes. So I think we're going to start heading for home as well. Thank you, all of you, for joining us, and I'm going to say thank you on behalf of... I'm just going to casually stall the car. I'm going to say thank you on behalf of Brent as well as Brian, just because they're on their way home too. Thank you, Vian, for your fantastic camera work. I got your leopard, finally. And thank you to Kirsty and Jerry in final control. Most importantly, thank you to all of you out there who are joining us and following these characters. Have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you in just a few short hours on the Sunrise Safari. Bye-bye.